Hello Eorzeans, welcome back to Remnants of a Realm. In the previous episode, we revisited Northern Thanalon and its cerulean field, Camp Blue Fog, Hidden Gorge, Cutter's Pass, and Sea of Spires. In this episode, we're headed back into the forest we all love, the Black Shroud. We are going east to Camp 9 Ivies, and yes, you heard that right, 9 Ivies used to be an aetheryte camp intended for level 40 plus adventurers. In other words, you wouldn't want to walk this way unless you were prepared to fend off some nasty high level buzzards. East Shroud was spread out over 3 different levels, indicated on the map by different shades of green. Dark green was ground level, while the other 2 shades of green were elevated areas. Lighter color meant higher elevation, basically. Anyway, Camp 9 Ivies was located on ground level, and served the greater East Shroud area. It was home to Gate Warden Aldwain, Quartermaster Trogmore, the 9 Ivies Battle Warden, and the Merchant, Sepkref. Lovely name, dude. To the south of Camp 9 Ivies, there was a location not marked on the map, which was accessible in 1.0. Not much is known about the location itself other than the name, Toromoy Battle Warrens. It's also said to have been the location of an important battle in Redania's past, but that's about all we know. However, the location played a big role in the Grand Company quest, 2 vans are better than 1, where you are dispatched to the Toromoy Battle Warrens to check up on a group of twin adders. Turns out the Garleans have started attacking this section of the Shroud as the invasion of Eorzeans slowly moves forward. And boy, this cutscene follows shortly after, which shows the White Raven talking to the Black Wolf. Southeast of Camp 9 Ivies, you'd encounter the small settlement of Hawthorne Hut. The name Hawthorne comes from the name of the hunter and outlaw Hawthorne who built it. The owner is Rolf Hawthorne, who lives in the settlement with his family and helpers. Among the inhabitants of Hawthorne, you'd find Geralt, who would provide you with the game's relic quest, A Relic Reborn, covered in a previous episode. And that's about it for Hawthorne Hut. It served more like a small point of interest in an area that was notorious for its blatant copy-paste design. In fact, East Shroud was probably the worst place in the entirety of the Shroud. It is pretty horrendous. East of Hawthorne Hut, you'd find the first ethereal gate connected to Camp 9 Ivies, Lark's Call. If you'd venture this far out, you're in scary territory. I remember this area being extremely annoying if you weren't a fully geared level 50 job. The area was filled with Doomvoid Givres and those goddamn wild boars. Lark's Call was the name of the whole eastern region of East Shroud, and contained its own lake, the Spring Ripple. Again, it's just a lake, but it was there. Its shape was unique for the Black Shroud, but that's about it. Lark's Call was also located on the highest elevation in the area, and to the very west of Lark's Call you'd find the Honey Yard. This area contained beehives, but no beekeepers to maintain them. It was often thought that a lot of the areas in East Shroud especially were placed there to be expanded later, much like the hidden dungeons we're exploring in Secrets of a Realm. Other than the beehives, it's just your run-of-the-mill open area with trees and some flowers. And this amazing looking rock, because it was magical, it had... No, I'm just kidding, it's just a rock. North of 9 Ivies, you'd find another ethereal gate, Verdant Drop. This area looked perhaps the strangest out of all of the areas in the Shroud. Verdant Drop was a cliffside in which you could see the trees of East Shroud's roots stretch down into the abyss. How far above actual ground level are we really? Cause that looks like it's going pretty darn deep. Other than the creepy roots stretching out of the dark void, there was nada zip zero to do here, other than the leaves and the odd quests that would take place nearby. North of Verdant Drop, you'd find the last ethereal gate in the zone, Linkspelt Patch. Much like Verdant Drop, it contained a cliff where you could see trees stretch down into the abyss, or wait, they'll stretch up out of the abyss. But this tree always bothered me. What is going on here? How did the tree grow into the ground like that with no sunlight? I mean, it's impressive, I'll give him that, but my brain can't even begin to understand how this happened. See, this one I get, because it grew up from the side, so it had plenty of sunlight, but this one is just wrong. Also, the ground model doesn't line up with the Abyss model. Anyway, Linkspelt Patch. Okay, here we go. The area consisted of several narrow pathways that circled around these giant trees. Granted, that's what most of this area was about. It was all about those tree circles. Other than that, not much to say. There was literally nothing here. And speaking of nothing, you've probably noticed that the Ethereal Gates, Landmarks, and Aetheryte Camp only covers one half of the map. Well, that's where the unfinished theory comes in. Once you'd left this half of the map, you'd pretty much stop seeing any form of landmark. Well, until you made it all the way up to the northeast, because as you can see, our next location is indeed a landmark, Moonspore Grove. But that's where it gets a little bit weird. Despite being marked on the map with a landmark pin, it was completely inaccessible to players in 1.0. The area was traditionally used by sylphs to keep their podlings, as the valley within Moonspore Grove grow a special type of fungi that cleaned the air. During 1.0, this tradition was still intact. During the Garlean invasion of Eorzeans near the end of the game's life, Moonspore Grove was threatened by Garlean soldiers entering sylph territory. Below Moonspore Grove, you'd find the Gold Leaf Dice. It was used as a place for gatherings and celebrations, and was built by the sylphs. This was in many ways the Sylphland town square. However, in 1.0, this area was not known as the Sylphlands. It was actually considered to be part of the greater Lark's Call area. In the previous Black Shroud themed episode, we listened to the Black Shroud's initial map theme. With patch 1.18, the high-level areas, such as most of East Shroud, played this track, called Whisper of the Land. after the Calamity, most of East Shroud got some pretty substantial retcons. This part in particular got retconned to hells. 9 Ivies, which used to be an Aetheryte camp northwest of Hawthorne Hut, is now an area just east of Hawthorne Hut. It's hard to say whether Hawthorne Hut got moved into 9 Ivies or vice versa, because the Honey Yard, which used to be located east of Hawthorne Hut, is now to the northwest. So, keeping this in mind, let's look at the specific changes to the locations themselves. Hawthorne Hut remains, albeit altered, now with a raised roof. The hut is also accessible now, which it was not in 1.0. It's now a fully fledged Aetheryte camp with merchants, menders, 2 leave meets, and a delivery mogul. When it comes to the 9 Ivies, there isn't much to say. It's nothing like it was in 1.0, and there are no remnants of the old camp anywhere to be seen. The Honey Yard, which used to be just a generic open clearing with some beehives in them, is now an actual honey yard with structures and actual beekeepers. Lark's Call is another retcon in A Realm Reborn. It used to occupy the southernmost of East Shroud, but is now more or less in the middle of the map, bordering the Sylphlands. Other than the name, nothing remains of the original Lark's Call. Interesting to note that Belsar's Wall now occupies the area where Spring Ripple Lake used to be located. Link's Pelt Patch is completely missing from the map in A Realm Reborn. I suspect the reason is simply because it was so pointless in 1.0, there was no point in bringing it back over to 2.0. Verdant Drop, however, still exists, but not quite the way it used to. It's located below the bridge connecting the Bramble Patch to Lark's Call. Yeah, I said below. Verdant Drop is now a waterfall, and you can fish there. I got myself some sweet river crab there. Prime river crab, I tell ya. The completely desolate area in 1.0 has now become the Sylphlands, full of tempered sylphs worshipping the primal Ramu in the wake of the Calamity. Moonspore Grove is now open, but the tradition of sylphs placing their podlings in the grove is no longer happening, as the tempered sylphs control the area and will not accept non-tempered sylphs. Goldleaf Dice is located pretty much the same place, but because the tempered sylphs no longer care about anything but worshipping Ramu, the building is dilapidated and falling apart. A sad sight. And with that, we've reached the end of the episode, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments what you think about the stuff we covered in this episode. Also join our Discord if you want to be cool. I'll be back in the next episode of Remnants of a Realm. Until then, Eorzeans, may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.